Get back to work. Okay. So as I said, in the next 2 hours, we will implement a fully functional app called Spot Locator, which will be able to detect the location where you are, save that location, you can name that location and save it. Then you can retrieve that location and find the directions on the map, on the Google Maps, to that location from another places where you are. Okay? So this is a pretty complicated and useful app, but it is possible to do it in 2 hours or so. Okay? So the most important thing before we do anything, any programming, is to think about how do we want this app to look like and what is actually the user's input, the process which will be involved in the functionality. Okay? And even more important is to divide the work into smaller chunks which are manageable and testable. So we can actually do something and then check if it works, and then if it doesn't work, fix it, and then do something again, and so on. So we don't start with like a grand implementation, but we go step by step. Okay? So if I ask you, and by the way, I wanted to make it a very interactive process. So I will be asking you for ideas, and you can tell me like what you think should be done and in what way, and we'll try to do it. Okay? And we'll make mistakes, but that's okay. Hopefully at the end we'll have a functional app. So the goal of the app is to detect the position and save it and give you direction. So the first part, what would you start with? What do you think is a good place to start? The first step to, what do you need to know? Yeah? Okay, it could be a button, which would do what? Let's not think about too far, right? For now, we didn't really decide that we want to have a login system, remembering who you are and so on. Just the simple functionality, which is where we are, okay? So, for example, I would start with thinking, okay, if I want an app which detects my position, and I want to know what this position is. So, if I imagine the app, the first version 0.01, is that I have a label saying current position, and it tells me where I'm, right? So longitude, let's say, and that. Okay, it displays that correctly. So when I move, it will change, right? Okay, so let's start designing that interface and then reacting to the events of changing location. So please log into the system. We are not logged in. And we can start with pressing project and then saying start new project. And let's call it spot locator 0.1. That's actually 0.1 or 1. This will be version 1 of the system. So we get this screen. We get the palette from which we can select elements for our interface and properties for every element. So right now we are, as you can see maybe a little bit, there is a green overlay over the screen, which basically says the whole screen is selected. So we can set up the properties of the actual screen. So I would like to first change the color of the screen to something more like gray. Okay, you can change it too. You can choose whatever you want. We could upload the background image, but I don't want to have a background image there. I can upload the icon, which will be used in our app on the home page, but for now that's okay too. And I can change other things. I can say this is version 1. So whatever I think is the properties of my app. Another thing is maybe I would like to, I'm fine with the settings. It will be, everything will be aligned to the left, like it text, and aligned to the top. So we'll start with the left corner, okay? So that's the first step to create the app. Then, I want to put a text, as I designed on paper, and I would actually do it on paper. I want to say current location, which will go in the middle of the screen and just display the text current location. So to display text, we have an element called label, and I could just take this element and drop it here, and I will have the text, which I can change in the properties. We always change text and properties, and say parent location. But right now, the current location is in a corner, it's black, it doesn't really look good in terms of design. And I would like to be able to control the position of it, to make it centered and maybe bigger, and maybe white, something which will look good on a gray background. Okay? So instead of dropping that text right away into my screen, I have to first use a layout setup which will allow me to organize my elements in a proper way. And the App Inventor provides two layout elements, actually three. Vertical arrangement, horizontal arrangement, and table arrangement. So basically what it means is that if I use vertical arrangement, I will be able to put my elements by each other. So they will look like this. So this will be my label, then something else, some text, and so on. So if I use it, I would have parent location and something else after, and so on. Well, I don't think this will look good. I think that app should look like this. It should have parent location in the middle, in the center, and then underneath longitude and latitude, right? So that's my design. So for that, I will use vertical arrangement. Okay? So I will delete that label because I don't think it fits here, and I will use vertical arrangement and drop it. Now I just got a box, white box, which doesn't fill the screen and doesn't look like it is helping with anything, right? So the first thing I have to do is to set its width on the right side in the properties to fill parent, which means, it's a very strange terminology, but it means basically that it will fill up the space available in the parent element. And if you look at here, you get this view here, which looks like a tree, right? You have a screen which has an element vertical arrangement. So this is the parent-child relationship. Vertical arrangement is a child of a screen. It's like inside the screen, so you can think about it as if it was a child of the screen. Okay? So now you get this box, and I want it to fill out the whole thing. So I say fill parent and press OK. Now it fills out entire parent being the screen in this case. Okay, so we have now some space which we can fill out with our elements in a vertical arrangement. So now I can also say that I want my text and my elements to be centered. I want them to basically, like in justification in Word, I want them not to appear on the left, like here, but I want them to be centered in the middle of the screen. So to do that, I will say my vertical arrangement, horizontal alignment here should be centered. Okay? And that's it. Now, if I go back to user interface and drop my label there, the label appears in the middle, right? So that looks that's already nice in terms of design of the user interface. Everybody is here, more or less? Yep. Okay, and then now I can change it to current location. Also, I think maybe I will increase the size of the fonts to 18, so it looks a bit bigger, and change the color of the text to white, because my background, this is background, sorry. Where is the color? Here. Because my background is going to be gray, so it will be better visible. Okay? Gray background. Okay? So I think in my aesthetic view, this looks better than just the blank text in the left corner. Okay? So we have the first element, but it doesn't do anything. So the next thing is to provide the information about location, right? So I will create another label. I just drop the label from the left into the box. It's important to drop it into the green box, not below. Okay? And this will say longitude. Okay? And another, and maybe also should be of a white color. And another label that says latitude. So right now, I have a current location with longitude and latitude, which doesn't display anything, right? It's empty. There is no content. So to be able to display something, I have to make space for it. I basically have to put something there that when I have the data, when I react to the event of changing location, I will be able to display it somewhere, right? Right now, I don't have that space. I mean, I have physical space, but there is nothing here on which I could write the text, right? So to do that, I basically will drop another label here and call it, put it, set it to its value to unknown because I don't know my location yet. Okay. Change the color to white again. But very importantly, this is not just a label. This is a place where I'm going to write the location, the longitude into, right? So right now, if you look at my names, the component names, they are all very generic. It's spin 1, vertical arrangement, label 1, label 2. And I might very easily get lost. What is label 2 or 3? And unknown is actually my longitude is like label 5 or something, right? So to organize that, that labeling properly, I will actually start naming my important elements. So when I refer to them in blocks, they have reasonable names. And this is a very difficult thing to do in programming. You name your elements with something which you can remember easily. So for example, here, I would like to name my place for the longitude, which is label 4, right? I will name it by pressing rename here. We'll name it longitude. Okay, now nothing changed in my interface, right? So it looks the same. But I know that if I change the value, the text inside longitude in the future, this will actually be the text which is displayed here in this green box, right? I also need the latitude, so I'm dropping the label here. Changing the colors, all the same to white in this case. Change the text to unknown. It could be 0. And change the label name to latitude. Okay. So right now I have I designed an interface which allows me to see the current location. But it doesn't display it. It doesn't have a functionality. It's just the interface, so the look of my app when it is run. So to get it actually to work, we have to implement the functionality, which is, as you remember, implementation of a reaction to some event. And in this case, it's not an event of pressing a button or writing some text, but it is an event of changing location. If I walk from here to some other room, then I will, then my phone will issue an event saying, look, your location changed. And it will do it whenever it discovers that I changed the location. Okay. Now, what do you think is the way we can, like, how do you detect things in the real physical world? We have a thing which detects things, which are called sensors, right? So we can detect somebody passing on a red light, or we can detect somebody speeding up, and so on. And in mobile devices, we have a lot of sensors, which you can see in the left panel. The ones which are supported in the app inventor are the following here. So a barcode scanner, location sensor, orientation sensor, and so on. So the one which we need is which one? location sensor, right? Now, location sensor by itself is kind of an abstract idea. It's just a sensor. It doesn't look like something, right? It's just sensor which will give us data, but we don't want to show it. How the sensor looks like? Well, we don't care. It just gives us the location coordinates. So for that reason, when you drop this location sensor into your app, it will not appear inside the view because it is not something we want to display, but it will go to the bottom and it will go under the label non-visible components, right? So it is there, but it is not visible. It's a little bit similar if you know PowerPoint and you drop a sound into PowerPoint, right? You see this little icon saying sound, but it is not something you would see, you would want to show in your presentation. It's just that there is sound, so it's not visible there, okay? But this gives us a great opportunities, right? Because we have a location sensor and we can detect the events of the location change. So now, once we are done, let's say we are done with this design, we are satisfied with the design of the interface, we will implement the functionality of this interface. And to do that, we go where? To blocks, right? Okay, so in blocks, we have a little bit similar interface where we are drawing or putting together the blocks, and we have a palette of what blocks are available to us on the left, okay? And there is a lot of blocks, different types of blocks which do different things. And it takes a while to learn what they do. But what you need to know to get started is that, always remember this, that this is an event-driven programming. So we have to start with an event. We have to get an event and react to it. So the event we want to react to is a location change event. Well, if it's a location change event, then it's probably going to be under the location sensor, right? So I press the location sensor on the left, and I get all possible events, which are always in this weird brownish orange color. That's how you know this is an event reaction to event, okay? And I have two choices here. So when location sensor status change, or when location sensor location change, do something. Well, which one do you think I should use? I want to react to change of location, right? So this will be this one. So I just drop this one into my program. And now look at how it looks like, right? First of all, it says when. So it is reacting to an event. Location sensor 1, well, this is our location sensor which we dropped into the system. Location change, so this is a programmatic way to say when the location changes on this location sensor, do something, right? And you can do something with these three values which will be sent to you when this location changes, okay? There will be latitude, longitude, and altitude sent to you. These three values you get from the location sensor. Now you have to do something about these values. So in our case, what do we want to do? Remember we have this interface. If you were thinking, what do you want to do about this? What will change here when the location changes? Yeah, so both unknowns, this one and this one, should actually display the new location, okay? Well, we know how they are called, right? We have it on the right. They are called longitude and latitude. And I never know how to spell it, so I probably misspell it, but that's okay. So, longitude, if I press longitude here, I have number of things which I can do with the longitude, right? So let's look at them. Is there anything which resembles something which we would like to have? How about this one? It says set longitude text to something, right? Well, that looks like exactly what we want to do. If the location changes, then we want to set the location, longitude text to something. So I will drop it here and listen to, I don't know if you will hear it, but there is a click. If I can do it, there is a click, right? If I cannot do it, if I drop something which doesn't fit, I can take something which makes no sense and drop it here. Then nothing happens. There is no click. Basically, nothing got connected. But the moment I selected something which is possible to do in this situation, we get the click. And that's how you know you didn't make a mistake. Okay? But there is something missing. The most important thing is missing right now, right? So we say, when location change, to set longitude to, and we didn't finish, right? To what? Okay. So this is the next step. And what we want to set it to is obvious, right? We want to set it to the longitude. We basically want to set it to longitude. Well, how we can get the longitude? Anybody can guess? Well, we have the longitude here, right? This is our longitude, and it says we can either set it or get it. Well, okay, I want to get it. So I grab this and drop it onto the proper place. And again, it's a click, so it fits. Okay? So I already right now have an implementation of my system which will set the longitude to the current longitude at the time of the location change. If I drive, it will be very often. If I walk here, it will not happen too often, but sometimes. Okay? Now, the same I want to do to the latitude. So I will select latitude, look for set latitude, text 2, okay, it's here, and drop it under. So what it means is that first I will set longitude and then I will set latitude. The order doesn't really matter, but I just want to do it in this order. Okay? And now I need to drop the latitude there. Oops. And by the way, notice that if something is missing, if it was not here, when something is missing, you get a warning sign here, and you get this actually error sign, and it says basically there is some error. Okay, you can even press on it, and it will tell you what is the problem. Okay, it's sometimes not very easy to understand, but they are beta, so hopefully they will improve the error. Okay, so now I have a program, completely finished program, which will display the longitude and the latitude of my current position. So let's see if it works. Okay, so one of the ways to do it, which I didn't yet show you, so one of the ways, if you are doing it on your laptop, is to go to build and say provide code for the app, right? That is one of the possibilities. Or you can download the app, which is because it is a ready app. You can download it to your computer and just save it. And when you save it, you can distribute it to the App Store. You could have a free app showing your latitude and longitude distributed. Or you can send it to yourself by email and install it on your device or anybody's email and install it on their device. So you basically have a fully functional app which you can use forever. The system is completely free and fully functional. Okay? So I have, let's see, if I have the latitude, and try to do it for yourself. Okay? So basically, if you are programming this, get the QR code and get the system on your device, if you have a mobile device with you. I'm going to do it through USB cable. It takes a while, but it is slow. Now, GPS in this room, I tested it yesterday. It doesn't really work that well, so you might get unknown anyways because it doesn't show, it's not visible, but maybe we'll get some data from the Wi-Fi position. Okay, it's reading something. The device promised not to break again, so there is the hope. Okay, so while it is reading my position, because I see it's reading but it doesn't yet show it, the next thing which I would like to do is, okay, I have my location, it's updated. Anybody actually downloaded the app to the phones? Yeah? It's showing the location?
No.
It is working for sure, but it just might not show it this inside. You go outside. the locations are detected. Yeah, okay, I still don't get the location, but it does work. It's just we are inside the field. So let's do the next step for now, which is basically once we have the location, we would like to be able to save it, right? So we need something to be able to save the location. So one of the things, what do you think would be in our interface, what do we need to save the current location? Like a button which says save, right? Or add location. That would be a good idea. Okay. So let's get the button added. So if I want to add the button, I will use the layout first, right? To or maybe actually in this case I can drop the button right under the location positions and call it. My button will be called add location. Okay, so this gives me a button which can add location, right? It will say the location if I get it from GPS, but it doesn't seem to show. So now this button doesn't have any functionality, okay? And when we think about the process of adding location, we will need something else than just the location. What do you think we need, except for location, to be able to save? If you were saving a location with 5, what you would do?
Name it?
Sorry?
Name it?
Yes, exactly. You would name it, right? You would like to be able to name the location, because just having a longitude, latitude is like meaningless, right? It's exactly as if we didn't have it. We don't know what it is. So to be able to provide a name, we need something to be able to actually write the name and then apply it to our current location, right? So how you can do that? Well, you can take a text box here and add it to the interface. So when you want to save the location, it will allow you to input the name for it. So for that, I will use the layout, horizontal arrangement, fill out the space, fill parent. Okay, now I have space for providing the name for the location. And then I will drop there from my interface text box. That is my actual name of the location. And the save button I will put right beside it. So once I have the name, I can actually save, right? So the idea here will be that I look at my location, and when I press this button, I would like to see this part of the interface, so I can provide the location and save it. Okay? And let's change the button name to save. And maybe I would like to slightly increase the size of this, so it looks better. Maybe to 70% or 80. 80% of the width of the screen. Okay? Now, if you look at this app design, well, there is something problematic. We have two buttons, right? We have add location and then we have save. But there is really no way around it, because I don't want to have I want to have the ability to save the location, but I also want to have the ability to not save the location, just look at my current location, right? So this part of the add should be dependent on the action of the add location button, right? So it basically should only appear when I want to add location. So this section, this thing, should be visible only when I say add location, right? And otherwise not visible. So to be able to manipulate the visibility of this part, remember this is in horizontal arrangement, I will change the name of the horizontal arrangement and I will call it add spot section of my app. Okay? And now you see there is a visibility button here. If I press it, it disappears, appears, so I can hide it and show it whenever I want. By the way, one of the things is that this app doesn't look that good in the interface, but if you look at the actual device, it's not that bad. It's better. Well, this is terrible because of the network, but the layout is better, right? It's not. It doesn't have the issues. Okay. So now I have a section which I can hide and show depending on if I'm adding the button, if I'm adding location or not. So basically what I have to do is to, anybody can tell me what I have to do to show and hide the location. I have to react to what event? Pressing the button, exactly. So I'm going to the add location button. Oh, I forgot to change its name. Add location button, I will actually change to add location so I know what I'm working on. Rename add location. Okay. And in blocks, I will say when add location is clicked, I press here, when add location is clicked, do something. Okay? So what do I do when the add location is clicked? I want to show the hidden part of my interface when I'm providing the name of the spot. So I named my part of the which is hidden add spot section, right? And here, if I look at it, what I can do with it, there is somewhere going to be an ability to set its visibility. In programming, it's very often when you hide something, it's usually called visible, hidden. This is the names used for visibility, the visibility of events. Okay. So when the button is clicked, I want to set the visibility of the add spot section to what? To visible, right? Now, in programming, very often we use basic logic to explain to computer what we are trying to do. So when we say in the real world, set visibility to visible, we can say it in a computer word, set visibility to true. That means that that's true, that it is visible, okay? And this value, true, is in the section logic here in blocks. And you can basically grab it and say, set it to true. Okay? So now when I click the button, it will actually make it visible. As long as it was not visible before, right? So right now it is visible. I will set it by default to not visible, hidden. Let's look at our actual phone interface. Just a second, I already did it. Okay, so it is not visible. I press the button add location, and it appears. Right? So you see, you can control the visibility of elements from other buttons or other events pretty easily. You just need to remember that because we are talking to a computer, when we want to set something to visible, we have to say visible is true. And it is common everywhere. Whatever you want to set is usually going to be true, false, or something like that. Okay? So we have now an interface which allows us to add location, and there is some text we can input. We can actually use it, write something. So, okay, let's say bit 214 1, 4. Okay? And then what happens if I press save? Sorry? Nothing will happen, because I never said what should happen when I press save. I never implemented it, right? So right now there is absolutely no functionality other than I can show it and basically say, okay, well, let me input some values. But I cannot control this. So what should I do to make it, to save it? What do you think is used in general? Like if you think about saving data, where do you save data? Especially in computer worlds. The first thing which comes to your mind is files, that's maybe one thing. Databases, right? To save stuff in databases. And that sounds like scary, difficult stuff to do, right? Maybe we have to have a developer of database to do it. Well, in App Inventor, it is relatively easy to do. So, in the palette on the left, you have a tab which is called Storage. And in Storage, you have a number of choices which you can do to save data. You can save it to file. You can save it to Fusion tables, TinyWebDB, and TinyDB. And in our case, we will be saving it to the database called TinyDB. So to do that, we don't need to understand the databases, programming of databases. We just need to know that we want to save something into the database. That's it. There is no requirements on learning on databases. So I want to have a database in my app. I will drop it. And again, database by itself is not a visible element, so it will go to the bottom. But now my app has both the location sensor and the database, right? And I need to react to the button press, the save button press, and save the values which were input by the user, the name of the place, and the location of the place, the current latitude and longitude values, into the database, right? Okay, so let's do that. This is a little bit more complicated in comparison to what we did, but we have the basics to do that. So first of all, we actually should name our buttons a little bit better. So if you look here, I will show it for a moment. Our save button right now is called button 2. So I will change its name to save. And my text button, I will change the name to location name. Okay? Now I can refer to it in a more reasonable way from the program. Okay? And let's type section. Okay, so what I want to say is that when I press the save button, when the save button is pressed, I should save my location, longitude, latitude, under the name provided in this text, right? This is the most complex task so far which we did. So far we just set the value of the longitude to longitude which we have, right? So how do you save things to the database? Well, let's press on the database and see what is available there, okay? So you have three major things which you can do with the database. The first thing is to clear some tags. The second thing is to get the tags, and then the third one is get value under the tag. Okay. So now maybe I should tell you what is the tag and value idea, right? So in this database, when we want to save something, we have a name for it. It's like in Excel. We have like a name, which is tag, and then we have a value, which is some number or whatever we want to save. So when we want to save something under that name, under that tag, we basically will use this operation here, store value under the tag name, and provide what is the value. Okay? So it's like filling out the Excel spreadsheet with the column which says what is the name, and then the other column which says what is the actual value to save. I will take that call and drop it to here, right? So I say when I click on the save button, call the database store the value in this database under the tag, and the value to store is this one. Okay? Is that clear? Because this is the difficult part. So, is there anything not clear about this? No? Everybody's here, more or less? In this? Okay, that's great. So now, what is our tag? How do you think we can get the tag, the name of the place?
Location name text.
Yeah, so location name, and we can say get the location name, text of it, right? So where is it? Here, location name text. This will be our tag. Remember that this location name is provided by user, right? So it's different. So every time user puts something else, there will be a different location name text in it. And then we have to save the value, that is the actual location read from the GPS. Oh, GPS read the values finally. That took half an hour. And it's not the fault of the app. It's just finally found its position. Okay? So now we get the values. Okay? So what are the values to be stored in the database? Well, the nice and also limiting thing about this database is that we can only store one single value for a given tag. But we have two values, right? We have longitude and latitude. So we have to do something to store two values in one place. So what we can do is to create a text which is separated with comma, right? So we basically will have a text, a record, which we will call it record, with longitude and latitude. Longitude and latitude, which are numbers, right? But we want to be able to know when the longitude ends and latitude starts. So we will separate it by comma. Maybe you know comma-separated files. Sometimes Excel files are saved as comma-separated files, right? So it's a typical thing to do. When you have more than one file to store in one row, in one record, you would separate it with comma or tab or something which you can then decide that is not a part of the value. Okay? So to do that, we will do an operation called join, which is in the text block. Okay? So if you press text, we can join two blocks of text. And I will drop it here, because what I want to say is that I want to combine two elements. I want to combine longitude text and latitude text into one. Okay? So how do I get the longitude text? You should know by now. Anybody can tell me? I have it, right? I have it here. I'm saving it in my interface. I basically press here and say get text, get longitude text. Okay? So I have a longitude text. This will be the first one, and then latitude is here. Now I forgot about something which I just talked about. So what is missing here? What do you think is wrong right now? If I just do it this way, I forgot comma. Exactly. I didn't put any comma. Right now I'm putting text which consists of numbers, but we don't know when the one number ends and the other starts. Right? So I need additional comma between these two values when I'm combining them. But you see that the join has no more spaces, right? It looks like join just has two spots to put text, so you can combine two texts and that's it. So there are some elements in the block programming language in App Inventor which can be changed, modified for your purposes. And there are the elements which have this blue setting icon. Okay? So this one, when I press it, it allows me to modify how the join looks like. Right now, join takes two strings, which are text, right? But I want it to take three strings. I will drop another one. And I basically want the middle string to be available there. See? So this way, I got another spot here, and I can put the comma into it. How do I put the comma? Well, I got it. Comma is the text, so I go to text, then drop which is empty, so I have to provide what text I want to save, which in this case would be comma. Okay? So now we have a pretty complicated program, right? What we do, and when you look at complicated stuff, it's a very good idea to look from the right side instead of from the left side. So you can think this way. Okay, so I have longitude combined with a latitude. How I know it's combined? Because there is join, right? So I'm joining text. And then this is a value I want to store. Where I want to store it? Under the tag location name text, right? In the database, tiny database, when somebody clicks save, okay? If you think about it, this is maybe a complicated piece of code, but writing it in a real code would be a page of code, something maybe half a page of code. So it is much easier than it would be in a programming language. Okay? So right now, I have a database where I'm saving my values and everything is fine. But I forgot something. What else should happen when I save something to the database? What do you think in terms of our interface? What should we do here? So I put something in. I put the name. I press the button save, and what should happen? Make a list for sure. That will be later. Yeah.
Needs to display to the user, so that the person who saved it can.
Yeah, that's a good idea. One idea is we should tell the user we actually successfully saved something, right? Would be nice idea to inform him, yeah, it worked, not like our app is breaking, we don't know what to do. So, to do that, we can use a thing which is called notifier. I forgot where it is, but I will find it.
Just interface.
In the main interface? Yeah, okay. So notifier is basically, well, it makes sense in the interface because it is a thing which will display a message to the user when something happens, right? So it will say, for example, hey, I successfully saved your place. Okay? So we drop the notifier. And again, the notifier itself is not a visible element because depending on the Android version, your settings, and so on, it will display a message in different places with different font. It's something which the system controls. You just can send it a message, okay? But we have a notifier. So now we have to call the notifier in the moment of saving of our name to the database, okay? So as usual, I will go to the blocks. I went to the blocks, right? And I press the notifier. And here, I can say, show alert, for example, call notifier and show alert that something happened. That sounds like it's potentially the thing we are looking for. And that should happen after we save the thing into the database. Okay? So now we should say something in this alert. Well, to get to say something, what do you think will be the element we will use? We could actually speak out. We can make it speak. Hey, I saved something, or I can just display text, right? So for simplicity, let's display text. I go to text, use my empty text thingy, drop it there, and actually write in the message I want to display. So, great, you have just saved a location. Okay? So you see we built a pretty complicated piece of code which saves something to the database and shows alert when it is saved. And there is one more thing which is missing, which we should do for this functionality. What do you think is missing? So what will happen? When you plan the action, think about what actually happens step by step in the process, right? So we press the add location, this appeared, we put the text in, we press the save button, we got a message it got saved, the location is saved. So what should happen right now?
Display or save location?
Maybe we should display the save location, but we also should hide this because we already saved something, right? So the last thing I would do in this case for now is to save, hide the add spot section because I'm no longer interested in saving it. I already saved it. So here is where we set the visibility of add spot location to true. That means show. So to change it to false, we basically need the same thing, which we can copy paste like as if it was text. And we will do it after the alert is shown. And we will say, I want to hide it. So visibility is not true. Visibility is false. Okay? And that's it. So now we are able to actually save our locations to database. But you just have to, for now, you just need to believe me that it works for one reason, because we don't display anything, right? We don't have any view on our database. It's just there, maybe, hopefully, if it works, if there is no mistakes. But we don't know if it, what is there. So the next step is to design a viewer, something which will show us what are the records of the database. So what is in the database, what are the new locations saved, right? So we still have some space on this page here. So maybe we should put some element here which displays our locations saved previously. And in general, in mobile app development, it is a good idea to have as many connected functionalities on one page as possible, but not that it is cluttered, but not that you have to always go through 10 pages to get to something, right? Because it is expensive and slow. So what do you think from these elements would be a good element, without knowing how they look like, to display our locations? Is there anything? List view, yeah. List view looks like something which might work, right? So let's drop a list view here. And this is a very nice element. This element will basically show all the elements on a list which has to be provided to it to be actually able to show this element. Okay, so right now it's empty because we didn't provide it anything. And okay, maybe we should change the color from black to like dark gray. And also the list has this property that it allows you to pick a thing on a list, right? You know it from any mobile interface. If you have a list, you can select an element on a list and do something with it. So I want these elements to be, which will be selected, to be, for example, orange. So I really see that they are going to be selected, okay? But right now the list is empty. Nothing is in there. So it's useless if I just start the program, as actually I have it here. The list is empty, so it's not visible, right? Oops. I got disconnected. Sorry, just a second. So we will need to provide the functionality for the list. So what the list is really doing, if you think about it, trying to be a computer scientist, what the list is doing to display something. It gets the tags from the database, right? Basically gets the tags from the database and displays the values, the names of these tags. The tags meaning the names of the locations, right? So let's see what we can get from the database. So first, we want to say, okay, we have a list view, and this list should have something from the database. Is there anything we can get? Oh, there is a call called get tags from the database. It will basically give us all the tags from the database, right? So we have the way to retrieve all the tags, but we have to do it at some point, right? And here we have a little problem, if you think about it. When should we update the list? what is the moment to update the list? There has to be an event happen when we update the list.
Program working.
Somebody said that? Exactly. So the first idea would be, well, I want to display, update the list after saving because I have a new element in it. Okay? So our saving script is here, right? When we click, we show the list, we hide the section, the list is visible but it's empty. So maybe we should set the list view to something. So let's see if we can set the list to something. Set list view elements to, guess what? The tags of the tiny div, right? So right now our database should display, our list view should display the database tags if they were any. After this one, there will be at least one to be displayed. Right after we pressed save. Okay? So let's see if I can connect to the phone to show you. Okay, and let's send the app to the phone. It takes a while. Hopefully we will see the GPS location this time. Okay, so here is our app. We can say the location on the, let's call it Pete 104, and we press save, and we see the list of location. Actually more than few because I actually did, sorry, I'm moving my mouse on this. I did a lot of testing before. So we have a list of all locations I've saved, right? Some of them are with unknown latitude because our GPS doesn't work and we don't protect for it. We don't check if, well, if it's unknown, then don't save it if it's not information, right? But this is all the lists, which are all the locations which we added. If I add a new location, I can say, oh, this is my favorite place. And I save it. My favorite place is added to the list. Right? The list doesn't look that good, so maybe we should change the font size a little bit to make it more visible. So I will do it here. This, when I select list, I think the font size should be larger, something like 40. And text color is fine, I think. Yeah, that looks better, right? Okay. So now we have, we just did it in 1 hour, right? We have 1 hour. In 1 hour, we created an app which displays the longitude and latitude wherever it feels like, but that's not the fault of the program, it's the fault of GPS. Then we can add that location, save its name, add it to a list, and it actually is preserved. And this is a fully functional, so we can actually use that app to save places, right? The only thing which is missing right now is to find direction to the place where we want to go, right? So we have the names, but we could display, by the names we could display longitude and latitude, but that's meaningless. We as humans will use map, right? So we would like to be able to display the actual place on the map corresponding to the longitude and latitude, and preferably even we would like to see the direction of to that place on the map, right? So that's something which we'll be doing right after a short break. And I think in 15 minutes we actually will be able to finish that. Okay, so let's make a short break, like 7 minutes. And Come back up.